The rain fell softly against the old wooden cabin. Each drop tapped like a fingertip searching for a way inside. The wind carried the scent of wet earth and pine needles. The trees swayed with slow, heavy breaths, as if the forest itself watched in silence. I stood near the window with my hand pressed against the cold glass. The dim lantern beside me flickered with a restless glow. A distant rumble of thunder rolled across the hills. The sound was low, almost whispering, as if hesitant to disturb the night. I felt a strange weight settle in my chest, a feeling that something waited just beyond the line of trees. I told myself it was only the darkness playing tricks on my mind. But the air held a tension that refused to leave. I stepped away from the window and walked toward the door. The wooden floor creaked under my slow steps. Each creak echoed louder than it should have. The lantern light stretched my shadow across the walls. My shadow trembled slightly with the flame. I placed my hand on the iron handle of the cabin door. The handle felt colder than the glass had been. I inhaled a long breath of warm lantern air. My heart thudded with uneasy rhythm. I pushed the door open. The gentle rain greeted me with a soft hiss. Mist hovered above the ground like a thin veil. The forest in front of me appeared darker than usual. The trees seemed to crowd closer together. There was no wind now, only the rain, and an unfamiliar silence spreading through the night. I stepped onto the porch with slow caution. A single drop of water slid down my cheek. My eyes scanned the shadows at the edge of the forest. That was when I noticed it. A faint shape standing between the trees. Perfectly still, perfectly silent. At first I thought it was only a trick of the moonlight. But the longer I stared, the clearer it became. A tall figure, dark, motionless, facing the cabin. A sudden chill crawled up my spine. The lantern inside the cabin flickered violently. My breath grew shallow. I felt the urge to step backward, yet my feet refused to move. The rain continued to fall around me with gentle rhythm. But inside the rhythm, I sensed something off. As if the night itself waited for my reaction. The figure shifted slightly, not forward, just enough to let me know it was not a tree, and not my imagination. My pulse hammered inside my ears. The taste of metal filled my mouth. I opened my lips to speak, but no sound escaped. The figure stepped out of the shadows, just enough for me to see the outline of its face. My stomach tightened. Something about the face was wrong. Terribly wrong. Its features did not move. Its eyes did not blink. It looked at me with a stillness that felt unnatural. The rain slid over its unmoving expression. I felt every hair on my arms rise. The lantern behind me went out. The night grew darker, and the figure took one slow step closer. The figure took one slow step closer. The sound of the rain seemed to soften around it, as if the night wished to hear the sound of its movement more clearly. I stepped backward until my heel touched the wooden door behind me. The boards beneath my feet throbbed with the vibration of my heartbeat. The air smelled heavier now. Damp wood, cold rain, a hint of something metallic drifting from the forest. The figure stopped at the edge of the porch steps. Its head tilted slightly to one side, as if it studied my fear with patient interest. I tried to steady my breathing, but each breath felt tight and sharp. I raised my hand slowly, unsure of what I meant to do. The figure responded with a small tilt of its own hand. Not a wave, not a gesture of warning. A quiet imitation, a mirror of movement. My stomach twisted with sudden realization. It copied me, not naturally, not gracefully. Its movement was delayed by a heartbeat, as if it needed to observe first, then replay. I pulled my hand back. The figure slowly lowered its own hand in return. My pulse thundered louder. I took another step backward into the cabin. The figure advanced one step onto the porch. Water collected in a shimmering layer beneath its feet. The boards did not creak under its weight. It moved without sound, as if its steps touched nothing. The doorway behind me felt like the only shield I possessed. Yet the shadows inside the cabin felt no safer. The figure stopped again. Its head lifted slightly. Its eyes remained locked on mine with cold intensity. The wind began to stir again, but only behind the cabin. The forest ahead remained still. The figure raised its right arm and pointed toward the darkness behind me. Its gesture was slow, careful, almost deliberate. A shiver tightened across my shoulders. I turned my head halfway, unsure whether to look. The cabin interior was pitch black without the lantern. The corners seemed to pulse with darkness. A faint scent drifted toward me from inside. The scent of wet soil. Fresh. Disturbed. I forced my eyes back to the figure. Its arm remained raised, pointing behind me, as if urging me to acknowledge something waiting inside the cabin. I stepped to the side, unsure of what it wanted or what it intended. The figure did not move from its spot. Its raised arm stayed steady. Its face remained emotionless. I felt rain trickle down my neck as a gust of wind blew across the porch. My body tensed with instinctive warning. The figure lowered its pointing hand, then raised its left hand to its own chest. Its fingers tapped against its dark clothing. A slow rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Each tap sounded faint but strangely hollow, as if it struck something inside itself rather than fabric. A sensation spread across my chest. A tingling discomfort, like a faint vibration echoing from someplace deeper. I stepped further backward inside the cabin. The darkness swallowed me up to my knees. The figure remained at the doorway, half shadow and half rain-lit form. Its eyes glowed faintly with reflected light. Not bright, not supernatural, only empty. Empty in a way that unsettled the cold space behind my ribs. My hand touched the wall behind me. The wood felt damp, colder than before. I moved sideways, searching for the lantern, hoping the spark remained inside its wick. My fingers brushed its metal frame. The figure's head shifted sharply at the sound. Its entire body tensed. Its silhouette straightened. Its focus sharpened as if the lantern meant something important. I hesitated. My breath struggled through my chest. I lifted the lantern. My fingers trembled around its shape. The figure watched, unblinking, unmoving. I brought the lantern closer to my face to check for any remaining ember. The interior was dark. No glow, no warmth, only the faint scent of burnt oil. I set the lantern down again. The figure stepped forward. One step. Its foot touched the cabin threshold. The air tightened instantly. The forest seemed to draw in a collective breath. My throat dried. The figure paused again and reached its hand toward me with slow, calculated control. Its fingers extended, long, cold in appearance. Each finger pointed at me as if selecting a specific part of my body to claim. I backed away deeper into the cabin. The darkness thickened around my legs and waist. A strange sound rose from behind me. A soft rustle, like fabric shifting against the floorboards. I spun around, my vision strained in the dark. Nothing moved, nothing breathed, but the sound continued, faint, persistent, coming from somewhere near the back wall. The figure stepped inside the cabin fully. Not rushed, not hesitant, confident in its presence. The air seemed to grow heavier with each step it took. Its shadow stretched across the floor, reaching toward me like a dark limb. I pressed my back against the wall. My palms flattened against the wood. The rustling behind me grew louder, as if something moved beneath the floorboards. The figure stopped only a few feet away, close enough for me to feel the coldness radiating from its body. Its eyes held mine with unwavering precision. Then it lifted its hand again. Not to imitate this time. Not to point. Its fingers curled into a slow beckoning gesture, calling me forward, inviting me, guiding me towards something I did not yet see. The rustling behind me ceased abruptly. The silence snapped with jarring force. My breath hitched. The figure leaned slightly closer. Its expression remained frozen, its intent unreadable. My mind screamed for me to run, yet my legs refused to obey. The figure lifted both hands now, as if preparing to reveal something, as if preparing to show me the reason it had come. Then another sound broke the silence. A deep, slow knock from beneath the floor. One single knock, heavy, determined, followed by another, and another, growing louder, closer. I stared at the figure. It stared back. The knocking continued beneath my feet. Rhythmic, unstoppable, as if something below the cabin had waited for this very moment. As if the figure had only been the one to open the way. The rain poured harder outside. The walls trembled with the force of the sound. The floor vibrated beneath my heels. The figure stepped aside, creating a clear path toward the center of the room. toward the place where the knocking rose with violent urgency. I felt the boards shift beneath the soles of my feet. A thin crack appeared between two planks. A cold breath of air escaped from the darkness below. I kept my eyes on the widening crack. My heartbeat thumped in uneven waves. The figure watched with unnatural calm. It waited for me to see what would emerge. The crack grew wider. The boards stretched upward. My body froze with dread. Something beneath the cabin began to rise. Slowly, steadily, and the figure's expression softened into something that resembled anticipation. The floor lifted again. The sound beneath grew louder. And the darkness below revealed the faint outline of something that should not have been moving at all. Something that reached upward, searching for the surface, searching for me. The figure stepped even further back, leaving me directly above the growing opening, leaving me alone with the rising shape. And I realized with sickening clarity that whatever waited below the cabin had expected this. It had expected me, and it was finally coming through. The shape continued to rise from beneath the floorboards. The wood groaned under the strain. Dust drifted upward in small clouds that stung my eyes. I stepped backward until the wall pressed firmly into my spine. The figure remained in the corner of the room, silent, watching. Its presence felt like a shadow that waited for the final moment to settle. The boards cracked again. A pale hand emerged. Its skin looked damp and colorless. Its fingers stretched outward in slow, deliberate motion. A faint sound escaped from the gap in the floor. A whisper of breath. Weak, shaken, human. My fear lessened for one uncertain heartbeat. I leaned forward slightly. The hand gripped the edge of the broken plank with trembling force. Another hand followed. Both hands strained upward with desperate effort. The figure in the corner took one small step back, as if giving permission for whatever was beneath the floor to rise. A head appeared, covered in dirt, soaked with rainwater that must have seeped through the cracks for hours. Two exhausted eyes looked up at me with silent pleading. My knees weakened. It was a person, trapped beneath the cabin, alive, barely alive. Their voice came out in a thin whisper. Their words shook like leaves in a cold wind. They asked me for help. The dark figure in the corner stood perfectly still. Its face remained unreadable. Its posture remained calm, as if this moment had been its purpose all along. I took a careful step toward the opening. The person beneath the floor reached for me with shaking fingers. The grip felt warm, human warmth, fragile warmth. I pulled with all the strength in my arms. Their body rose inch by inch. Their breath rasped against the cold air. The dark figure remained unmoving. No threat, no interference, only quiet observation. When the person finally collapsed onto the wooden floor, they clung to me with overwhelming relief. Their shoulders shook with weak, grateful sobs. Their eyes stayed shut as if the darkness still frightened them. I lifted my head toward the corner of the room, toward the figure who had brought the night to my door. The figure lowered its head. A slow gesture, almost gentle. Then it stepped backward into the shadows. Its form thinned with each step. Its outline faded. Its presence dissolved like mist retreating from the morning light. Within seconds it vanished completely. The forest outside breathed again. The rain softened into a calm, steady rhythm. The tension that had gripped the air finally released. The cabin felt warmer, safer, real. I held the rescued stranger close. Their heartbeat tapped weakly against my arm. I guided them toward the door and led them into the open air. The smell of wet earth felt comforting now instead of ominous. The trees swayed softly with the returning wind. The night no longer watched with sharp eyes. It merely listened. I looked back at the cabin one last time. The broken floorboards lay open like a wound that finally revealed its secret. The shadowed figure that had once stood there did not return. The forest remained quiet, calm. I helped the stranger down the steps. Their voice trembled as they thanked me. The gentle rain washed the dirt from their hands. The wind carried away the last trace of fear. I felt the weight lift from my chest. A deep breath found its way back into my lungs. The night that once held dread now held only the sound of falling rain. And as we walked away from the cabin, I understood something clearly. The figure had not come to harm me. It had come to guide me. To reveal what was hidden below the silence. To deliver a life back into the world. The forest accepted our departure with quiet grace. and the gentle rain followed us into the safety of dawn. The darkness behind us faded. The world brightened, and the long night finally came to its peaceful end.